Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Adobe Live. My name is Ryan Selvey, and I'm very excited to be joined by Finn Hanley. He is the going into the art of the edit, and we'll be checking out some really cool different edits that we're going to be checking out. Good morning or good afternoon to you. How are you?
Yeah, good evening, all good. Nice to see you. Excited for this stream. Going to be diving into some edits, as you said. Lots of night photography, daytime, everywhere in between. So yeah, should be a good stream.
All right. Well, for anyone who is unfamiliar with you or your work, do you want to give a quick elevator pitch of yourself as an artist?
For sure. Yeah, so I'm Finn, based in London. I'm a 21-year-old photographer. Been doing this for about 5 years now. And I think I've found my style within photography. I started out doing a lot of night photography, but I've recently found myself traveling all over the world. So in today's stream, I've got photos from London, where I'm based, Hong Kong, Brazil, Tokyo, Chicago, and New York. So I'm going to be trying to go through as many as I can, but we'll see what we can do in the time we've got.
Cool. All right. Well, I'm gonna go ahead up. I'm gonna share your screen. I don't know if you want to pull up any of your socials or anything to show off a little bit of your portfolio, but it's uh, South Optic
South,
on Instagram. Is that pretty much universal towards
yeah,
like TikTok and
South
everything?
Optic on South Optic on every single piece of social media there is. So yeah. But yeah, can scroll through a bit of the Instagram, some of my recent work. But in today's stream, going to be focusing on this series, which is the art of. This one in particular was the art of editing photos, and it literally just goes through the raw photo and then turning into a finished product. And we've got lots of photos to go through, including this one over in Tokyo. And that is the finished product. So yeah, just showcasing some of my photography around the world. And yeah,
I love how when you edit like the colors of night photography in particular, it can go so quickly from like hot, humid, like summer night to like maybe like a cool, I don't know, metropolitan. Like that could be any temperature, honestly, even though it's cooler. But when I see the warmer one, it always feels like I feel muggy. But then that I'm like, oh, I want to go there. Um,
I think
I'm seeing
I think we'll
in the
see that.
chat. Wait, say that again.
No, I think we'll see throughout the stream that a lot of my night photography shots might look a bit similar. I've
Yeah.
sort of created presets and they all look blue. And a lot of my friends often mention that all my photos look very blue as well. So yeah, it will be a theme throughout the stream.
There's an aesthetic that can be a big strength. I
Exactly.
just saw that you had the Chicago theater there, and then I'm seeing that
Yes.
Blanco is in the chat saying Chicago is so photogenic. um and when we hop into stuff, I can also ask you some of these questions, but I am really curious about like what you're shooting on, what kind of camera that you bring on different stuff, if you're bringing one body, if you're bringing several bodies. um and we'll be hopping into it, but we'll be working predominantly in Lightroom Classic today.
Lightroom Classic.
Great.
I would say a lot of my photos often end up going into Photoshop as well, but I think that's a completely different stream because there's a lot more that goes into that. But yeah, today I'll just be focusing on almost the basic part of the edits and more the color, the yeah, not the. Sometimes I add reflections or I do some artificial editing like that. But yeah, simply Lightroom Classic today.
Great. Well, people love Lightroom Classic. We have a few photographers that are regulars that I know swear by Lightroom Classic, and then we also have a few other ones that are into the other form as well. So it's always cool to see how everyone has their different approaches. You have a selection from a bunch of different cities. Obviously, this one's a little bit closer to home for you.
Right.
But what are we looking at here?
Yeah, so this was actually quite an old photo I took in my career. I think this was from 3 years ago or something. And it was a very rainy, moody day over in London. If we zoom in, we can see all this rain coming down through the photo. And almost one of my most famous images, or one that I think resonates the most with me. If I think about my photography, I think this is the photo I would say matches it. It's a London night. I'm going to edit it to make it very blue, very moody.
As you were saying, got to make everything blue. Also, welcome to Poet. They're joining us saying, hi, this is Belfry from Colombia. Hope you're doing great today. Well, we hope you're doing great today. If you have any questions as we're hopping into this photo stream, please let us know. We've got a whole hour ahead of us, which is exciting, but we thrive on answering your questions, comments. If you have even just nice compliments to Finn, everyone likes to hear good job. So we're also fully open to those. Let me know, and I'll be sure to relay them to him. When you're shooting something like this, obviously, I mean, this is like torrential downpour. Did you have like a cover on your unit, or was it kind of
Uh,
just stuff in the
no,
rain?
I'm not one. I'm not one to do that. I take my gear out in the rain, and whatever happens to it, it happens. But thankfully, a lot of the gear these days is quite weather sealed, so I've never really had any problems with that. But we'll see. Maybe in the future there will be some problems. But yeah, for
Also, you
this, I
hopped in the
just go
road for
out.
this, right?
Sorry.
You hopped into the road for this one, right?
Yeah, well, I think it was quite, well, I can actually see if I press I on my keyboard, it's a bit of a shortcut. So I can see from 2024. So this was a couple of years ago now, 5 o'clock. So it is rush hour. But at this particular time, the road was quite empty. Um, I was literally just crossing the road here. And I managed to find this quite a nice frame. It was a bit of a snapshot at the time
Yeah.
because I don't actually like these bollards coming through the frame, but there's not much I could really do about that. I like the
Right.
photo as a whole, and I like how these subjects, they're not actually very sharp, I have to say, but sometimes not every photo is going to be perfect. You just got to make do with the photo you've got. And this is one of those times.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, composition's great, goes a long way. Also, the blurriness of the rain is
yeah,
forgiving to
exactly.
any sort of sharpness, right?
If I press I again, we can actually see I've shot a 1/25th of a second, which isn't exactly the best sort of shutter speed to take photos at, but
Mm-hmm.
I was already at ISO 1000. And I think this was before Lightroom denoise was a kind of a thing. Um, so I was trying to keep my ISO as low as I could really to get rid of the
Right.
noise, but I couldn't really do that too well because, yeah, I mean, as you can see, it's a little bit noisy, but again, that's not something I'm focusing on too much for this image. We're going to have some sharper images coming up, which won't be like this in a completely different style. So,
Well, yeah,
yeah.
to that point, do you feel like your method of like being out in the field and shooting has changed now that you know that some of the tools back home have changed, like with ISO?
Definitely. I rarely carry a tripod around with me anymore because
Yeah.
I find myself doing handheld slow shutter speed often at zero point 0.4 seconds, which a lot of people when I post videos about it say like there's no way this is handheld, but most of my work is. Um, but yeah, I've already started with some basic edits, and I think we'll find throughout this stream I like to press backslash a lot to see the before and after of my photos. So I hope it doesn't get too
No, we love
annoying
it.
to I
No
love to
apologies. We
almost
love it.
click back and forth, just see what's happening.
Yeah, it's a great point of
But yeah,
reference.
I'm in the process currently of just adding some color into the image and really making it blue, making it stand out. And I'm also going to get into masks quite a lot because it's something I probably use a bit too much of. And literally what I'm doing right now, I've already applied two masks to the exact same part of the frame just to make the light pop a bit more from the highlights.
Oh, that's cool. Nice little halo effect. I'm seeing Cody is in the chat saying that this photo is awesome. So moody. Yes, it feels. Oh, and oh, I just like how the tail lights of that car, also the reflections on the road, really have
Yeah,
come
they really pop from
along.
the road here.
Feel like kind of flames on the ground. Um, but yeah, no, it's cool to be able to see like how quickly something like just a halo effect around some lights can make something feel so cinematic so quickly. Um,
Exactly.
and for
And I
something
think
like
that is
this, oh no, sorry, you
so I
go.
was just saying, I think that's the power of masking, really, because I wouldn't really be able to do that. I could affect the whole image with my adjustments, but with masking, you can really pinpoint particular parts of the images, which I've already done. So I've already applied in these few minutes. I've already applied 7 masks to the image, and we can see the before and after. It really shapes the light
Yeah,
what
like
to what I want.
monumentally.
And the more masks I can do, I can pinpoint particular parts of the image, and I can make that stand out, or I can make other things blend in a bit more. So it is really powerful. And again, we will see throughout this stream that a lot of the images focus a lot on masks because it really shapes the light.
And so when you're doing that, were you are you pressing like a keyboard shortcut for that? How are you implementing those masks so quickly?
Yeah, so I'm not actually great with shortcuts. I kind of just learn everything by clicking through everything. But with masks, I've learned that Shift and M on a Mac keyboard, I am on Mac, brings up the radial mask, which I will use quite a lot, and that's what I use for sort of these masks here. And you can do lots of different cool shapes to do that. Or M instead of Shift creates the lineal gradient, so you can shape light in that way as well.
Yeah.
We'll get into the brush a bit more, but that's K on the keyboard, so I can brush
So
around
what are you
different
talking
parts of
about?
the image.
You know your shortcut. You already just like railed off three of them.
Well,
Um,
I think they're basic. I think they're basic shortcuts, but
I know, but like you're, it's not like a Konami code where like people are out here. I mean, I guess some people are doing like Control Shift Y F13, you know, like. But
yeah,
I think a lot of us, you know, you just find your favorites and you keep going through them, and the ones that are important really speed up your workflow. Um,
yeah,
Hello to
exactly.
Mano or Manaj. I'm not sure which one it is, but I'm glad to have you here. If you have any questions for Finn while we're going through stuff, please let us know. Right now, we're just working on our first photo. It's come such a long way in like 30 seconds, which is really cool to see that this is like
Yeah, it's
just
been transformed a
remarkably
lot.
different vibe.
And
And it
yeah,
shows that composition goes a long way.
I will dive into presets a bit because I think with a lot of my photos, I do focus on having presets, and that's a base part of the image. So I apply a preset and then I do all my different adjustments afterwards. But I
Yeah.
actually, in preparation for this, I made I'm working on a new preset pack at the moment, but I actually made one for this stream called Adobe Live, so we can actually play around with that a little bit.
This is
And
for us, you guys.
if I reset this whole image and I go back to the crop I did, again, I don't want to focus too much on presets for this stream because I want to show the actual workflow that I go through. And presets are something you can develop as you edit. But if we go and over one click, we already have these adjustments that we've made.
Wow.
And
Beautiful.
it really transformed the whole image just like that. And that's just from these adjustments through the tone curve, through the basic adjustments. But I will actually go back to what I originally did because I already have the masks applied. So I'm just going to go all the way back through these. I think there's one
I'm
more.
also loving
Yeah.
the red on the pedestrian wall on the far left that is also being picked up as a reflection, which
Yeah.
I did
So
not
yeah, that's
notice when we had the other coloring.
Yeah, it's one thing I love about night photography, and especially when it's raining, you get a lot of reflections all in your photos. So it's one thing I do look out for, and it creates a nice atmosphere in the image as well. Like we've got the rain coming through, we got the beaming lights, we've got lights from the cars and the reflections on the road. Yeah, that's one reason why I love night photography.
Yeah. And are you a night owl by nature?
I think I am. I think I am.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you're not like out there
I,
like exhausted at like 10 p.m. being like, why do I love this?
no,
You're still
well,
alert.
when I was starting photography, I always went out sort of by myself from whenever sunset, and I would get back at late in the night, just sort
Yeah.
of walking around by myself, taking photos like these. But
Also,
now
don't
I
get
don't really
mugged
do
or
that
anything.
anymore. I go out for specific projects. I have a plan in mind, but for something like this, I would sort of just walk around and see what I can get at the time.
Jacob's joining us, saying, "What's up, fellows?" Hi, Jacob. Always nice to see you. He says, "Love a photography stream," and Cody is in agreement. She also says that car lights in the rain are always lovely. Yes, they're always like an easy one. So, what are we doing here with this red brush?
Yeah, so right now I'm just using some Gen AI to get rid of some distractions in the photos. And this is something I've actually become very picky with because I think this, along with masking, this is probably the second most important part of editing a photo, and
Yeah,
that's getting rid of distractions because this photo has quite a few, I think, but not as much as some other photos we'll go through later in the stream.
yeah. What are you looking for when you're looking for distractions? Like, what?
Something that literally just catches my eye.
Mm,
If it's not the subject, and so with this photo, I'm seeing a lot of atmosphere, I'm seeing a lot of color, and I've got my subjects where there's sort of two families with an umbrella above them, and then I have Big Ben. So I sort of have three subjects in the image, and if something else is catching my eye, which I don't think belongs in the image, that's something I'm looking to remove.
okay.
Um, so I hope Gen AI didn't take it too long. I found that today.
Oh, that's
My
fine.
laptop's
Okay.
a bit slow.
You're also
But
streaming at
yeah,
the same time, so there's always that as well. I know that we were talking about the ISO a little bit earlier, and so this is kind of topical because I know we were talking a little bit about the astronauts that took off yesterday. They flew out with Nikon D5s, and that ISO can, which I don't even understand this, can go up to 3,276,800, which like I mean, when you're in the vacuum of space, that makes sense. But anything other than that, I'm like, is everything just gonna be like white, right?
well, yeah,
Um,
I don't think my camera can do that, but I
yeah.
also
Well,
don't
so
know
what
if
are you
I.
shooting on?
Yeah, so I shoot on Sony.
On Sony. Okay,
So
cool.
I started my career with a Sony A7 III, which I
Oh,
think a lot of
A7s are
people.
great.
A7 III. So I got a lot of use out of that over the years. And then I think that at the end of 2024, I upgraded to the Sony A7 IV. So literally just the model above. And I know now that there is the A7 V, which is currently out, but
Hmm.
I haven't jumped the gun for that because I think A7 IV does everything I need. It does video for when I'm doing some social media things. It does great photo,
Yeah.
great night photography. So yeah,
No,
Sony,
that's
and then
always
the
kind of
lenses.
hard to look over at the next thing and be like, do I upgrade? Do I need to upgrade? I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
Yeah, I
and then
don't
so when
think
you're
I
out
will upgrade
there,
anything.
oh wait, no, I'm sorry.
No, I was saying I don't think I will upgrade anytime soon because, yeah, as I say, it does everything I need. So,
No, that's
but it
great.
does look good.
Let's look at this. The
Uh,
Gen fill worked out. Looks like it filled out all the different distractions we had. We had some lights off in the windows,
yeah, we had some
and some
lights. I probably
reflections.
could have gone through these, but we can see they're not big distractions, but for something like just in this corner, it cleans them up nicely. And even on this road, we had, I don't even know
Nice.
what you'd even call this. This is like light bouncing off something, but
Yeah.
I saw it and I didn't like it, so I just got rid of it. So I could probably get rid of these lights if I was being really picky. I'd get rid of these. I don't need to use Gen AI for everything. You can just do these standard without yarn ticket, and it will do it a bit quicker, and we can go over these lights really quick.
So hello to Patrick, Mike, Josie. Good to have you guys all here. I'm seeing that Reverb Mike is saying that he has a Sony uh, FX9, and that it makes sense for Mike because Mike is he's always in the motion and video editing area, which is great. Which is also why I know Sony A7s is because I like to shoot video if I have anything like in my hand. You know, I'm not as great with stills, um, but it's always fun to see what people gravitate towards because we have Sony people, we have people who swear by Nikon. Um, Also, we have some Canon people, but I feel like I hear like Canon less and less. Also, none of these are Adobe endorsements, criticisms, or praises. This is just Ryan Selvey talking. So,
Uh,
Jacob was also just asking about
yeah,
your camera too, but we just went over that. Um, if,
I
if you guys have
think
any questions,
this
let me know
is
too.
probably quite a nice place to leave the image. I did this quite quickly, to be honest, but if we just quickly run over everything, we've got 14 masks that I put on the image, which might be a bit overkill for some people, but I think it is the most important part of photo editing, especially in Lightroom. If we literally unclick this little I button, we can see exactly what we've done. And
Wow.
to me, I think this is nice as
Wow.
it is. It really shapes the light in the frame, and we will get onto more masks over the next few images, but I think we can move on.
And so, wait,
Yeah.
real quick before we move on to this, we never used like the vignette tool, right? This was just literally masks, and then those are just
No,
ones that
that
are
was
lower,
actually
right?
something I should have mentioned. So I did apply a vignette, but that was through masking. So I think it was
Hmm.
mask 5. Now it's not very obvious at the moment, but if we untick that, we can see a slight vignette coming through. But
Yeah.
I like to do it through masking because if I want, I can adjust it to make it a really big vignette like this. Okay, I've accidentally deleted it. Um, but yeah, we can adjust the feathering, which I really like. And I just feel like I have more control over it because I can change it completely like this. So yeah, I
More
never really
malleable.
touched the vignetting tool. I've only actually sort of dabbled with a few tools up here. I haven't changed too much of the colors. At the end, I did a bit of color grading. Probably should have done this. We'll tick that now. Um, didn't touch the transforming. didn't touch the grain or calibration. I'm not really one to touch the calibration, but yeah, I think this is a really nice first edit. So I
That's
will
awesome.
actually jump over to another night photography shot, which again was in London, and this was from the drone.
Whoa, cool. All right.
So this,
That actually lines up with a good question from Charlotte, wondering if you have any favorite spots in London. I'm curious. That's a two-parter. One, do you have favorite spots in London to shoot photo, and then do you also just have favorite spots in London that just is your favorite spot?
well, it's perfect that we go into this image because Tower Bridge, I don't know why, but I
Yeah,
always find myself coming back to Tower Bridge.
it's
I like
iconic.
to focus on the landmarks throughout London. So I guess the Shard here, Tower Bridge, in the last photo, Big Ben. Not really one to shoot London Eye, although it's right next to Big Ben, but I would say Tower Bridge is definitely my favorite place or landmark to shoot in London, and you can get so many different frames all around. And this one was from the sky, so it makes quite a cool effect. So you can see the Shard. We've got a nice sunset in the background, which we will emphasize and bring some color out into once I dive in. But yeah, Tower Bridge in London. If you're ever visiting and you're bringing your camera, I would highly recommend Tower Bridge for sure.
So, and also, do you use DJI drones, or are you more of like a
I
Sky
do.
Geo
I've
guy?
got quite an outdated DJI Mini 3 Pro,
Mm-hmm.
which is a bit old now, but it does the job. I don't use it every single time I'm out, but I'm actually taking a trip to the Faroe Islands this month. So the drone is definitely going to be out there to capture the big landscapes from above. So it's gonna be pulled out of the cupboard very soon for sure.
I'm seeing Sean in the chat saying great image. Sean is also a talented photographer that joins us quite regularly. Good to see you, Sean. If you have any questions for Finn as we're hopping into stuff, let us know. We're just doing some edits in Lightroom Classic and looking through different London shots at the moment. But Finn is also very well traveled, so we're looking all over the place.
Yeah,
Wow, it's
we
remarkable how fast, like, I say one sentence and then like I'll look back up at the image is a completely different color in like four different places.
yeah,
um,
I think I've managed to find quite a nice flow in my edits. And again, I'm not using presets for this, but often I would just hover over a preset, see which one. Well, actually, I can sort of dive into it now. So these are part of my new pack, which I'll be releasing soon. But with
do you
this one
sell
that
packs?
I do, so I currently have just this pack here
Mhm.
in Lightroom but I do have three packs in total on my store, which is also linked in my Instagram bio. But there are, I think, 45 plus presets to download on my store. This is my most recent pack here. As I hover over, a lot of the images don't look nice, but that's where presets are stylized to different things. Some will be daytime, some will be nighttime. For example, this one here, this is Adobe Live, and we can see this image looks horrible right now,
Yeah,
but we can
that or it's
fix that.
Tron, you know, it's like we got all neoned out.
Well, you can say that, but I think it looks horrible. But all I did to change that, so I think it was around here, and all we did was change the temperature slider, and it brings the image back completely. Um, so yeah,
I'm just
it's
gonna quickly
that's
drag over
oh,
um
you found them. Well, there you go.
your packs that you have here. And so you have different ones that you say you're working on right now. You can even buy them in a bundle if you want to, and then you guys are able to then bring them straight into Lightroom. So you're not gonna necessarily have all the same expertise as some of the crazy masking that he's doing, but maybe you guys can watch this stream back and pick up on some ideas, and then you can also get into it. We're looking forward to then being able to see V4 with things like blue and more blue or
Yeah.
filmic feel, which is fun.
Well, I'm still focusing on the names, but the blue and more blue is definitely going to be in night photography because especially with these first two images, I just like to make my night photos blue. I don't know why I'm drawn to it. I'm going to keep it that way, and it will probably stay that way.
It's a good choice. No shame, no apologies. Um, so obviously we've already accomplished a lot here. How many masks are we up to?
Let's check. We're at 9 masks right now.
Nine. All right. And so, what are some of the things
Still,
that we're kind of
well,
looking at when you're masking things out? Like, obviously, we're doing the whole exposure light of Tower Bridge again. We're focusing on reflections. I know you spoke to that highly. What did you do when you were kind of focused on the sunset there?
So with this image in particular, we've got a lot of blue from the sky over on the right-hand side. I think I've actually my laptop screen's a bit dark or bright, sorry, so I can hardly really see this side. So I think it's a bit underexposed. But we got some blue in the sky on the right, and we have this nice sort of gap in the clouds, and we've got the nice sunset coming through. So all I did was I created a radial mask by doing Shift M, and I dragged it from halfway across the image almost. I feather it out completely, just to make it nice and feathered, smooth,
Mm-hmm.
balanced, and I can literally adjust this whole part of the image right now that I'm focusing on. So I can add some exposure, and I drag the temperature slider all the way to the right because it brings out the nice oranges, especially for a sunset. You want to bring the nice orange tones back into the image, and I think it balances quite nicely with the rest of the blues coming in from the right hand side.
Yeah. And now, was this also originally vertical, or is this another one where you did cropping for it?
I This is a vertical shot. So on the Mini 3 Pro, you can shoot in I think it's called True Vertical something.
That's cool.
So yeah, this is I think 3 by 4 image. So yeah, already vertical. It's already framed quite nicely. I didn't really touch much. I just put the shard a bit more in the center. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
framed already quite nicely. I didn't really need to touch it.
And for that
Um,
framing, you had it set up to have the guides to just do crosshairs of kind of just
yeah,
straight
so
vertical, straight horizontal.
yeah, you can change by pressing O on the keyboard. I think it would be the same with Windows. I'm not sure, but on
Mm-hmm.
Mac it definitely is. And you can change the crop view. So
Do you
you
feel like you
can.
use a lot of these, or do you kind of stick to a few favorites?
There are some I definitely don't use. This basic one is probably the most used, but for something like this image in particular, I might use this because it's crossed quite nicely in the middle. As you saw, I
Yeah.
was using this one because I want the shard to be perfectly in the center. So I just grab this center line and I would put my subject on there. If I go back to that, don't use
Also, when you're
this.
shooting, do you have grids on your viewfinder activated, or
I
do
do.
you kind of
Yeah.
eyeball everything?
I don't, yeah, I think they're very important. They're not an essential thing because you can always change the crop here in Lightroom, but it is definitely something I look to have on. So yeah, they're important to me, but they might not be important to everyone.
Yeah. We'll also have Dino
Um,
who's joining us. Good to see you here. We are currently just going through some edits in London. But if you have any questions, comments, compliments, please, by all means, throw them in the chat. Reverb Mike is saying it's all fun and games until you fly into a tree. Yeah. Have you had any scary moments with your drone? Have you ever wrecked a drone? How's that?
I haven't
How was
wrecked
that
one.
learning experience?
I haven't wrecked one, but the first time I flew it, I just tried to fly it sort of in the garden,
Yeah.
and I did fly it into a tree on the first flight I did. So
It's
it
like a
has
little
happened
kid in
before.
their flight. I mean, in their kite, right? Like, just immediately, just like it's gonna go into the one place it's not supposed to.
Exactly. But I think other than that, I don't think I've crashed it.
Okay,
Other
that's
than
good.
that time, especially when I'm out in like London or anything, I haven't had any problems then. A lot of problems with sort of connectivity where I fly it really far away and then I struggle when my battery's running out. So I have had some issues sometimes, but no, I haven't wrecked a drone or anything. So
Oh, that's
we're
wonderful
fairly
to hear because
safe.
they're not cheap. They're not.
They're
They're
not.
not
You're
nothing.
right.
Dino's wondering if you've ever taken any photos of Hampton Court Palace.
I haven't. I'm very familiar with it though.
Yeah.
No, I like to focus my work all on London landmarks. I think it just stands out a bit more to sort of my viewers online.
Hmm.
It resonates a bit more if you see a famous landmark like this. We have two famous landmarks ready in the frame. Sometimes if I'm doing street photography, obviously wouldn't focus on landmarks and I focus more on the people as we would get into with something like this in Japan. But no, in London,
Yeah.
especially in the UK, I like to focus on London and the landmarks there.
Yeah, it's like I know that the Hampton Court is more like, Gothic or like Baroque, where I feel like a lot of your other stuff is way more metropolitan. Um
Yeah,
and has a lot of I don't know, new wave in the way that it feels almost like this almost feels kind of like a Blade Runner moment. I'm seeing Mike say that he's killed 3 drones, which my dude, that's awful.
got to look up.
We got to get you into a flying course, so maybe course correct your drone murder. uh, but okay, so
Yeah.
we've switched over now. Obviously, we've got some light exposure, so it's a longer exposure here. And then I'm guessing you're just doing kind of like a quick zoom out on your lens.
Yep. So this is a zoom blur. So I actually
Hmm.
have a tutorial on the page of this photo I took over in Hong Kong. So I'm away from London now. We've got past that. We're gonna look a bit more around the world. And yeah,
Cool.
this is Hong Kong on I think it's called Victoria Peak, but I might be wrong. But there's this nice spot you can go to. You see the whole city from an elevated view. So it kind of looks like a drone spot, but it's actually not. It's just a really elevated spot on a mountain, I think.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, this is a zoom blur. So if we go over to my settings by pressing I on the keyboard, this is a 1 second exposure.
Wow.
So although I said earlier in the stream I don't use a tripod for this spot, or for this shot, I did actually use a tripod. It's kind of essential for a zoom blur,
Yeah. Do
just
you
to
bring
keep
out like a
everything.
monopod, or is it actually a tripod that you
It was an
use?
actual tripod. For
Okay.
traveling, I do like to bring my tripod because if I'm in London, I know I can just go back to the spot. But if I've traveled halfway across the world, I'm going to bring my tripod in case I need it for anything.
For sure. Do you have
Um,
a brand that you swear by?
I swear by Manfrotto. I've used their tripods throughout my whole career, and I still use it. But I do like the look of the Peak Design tripods. I've used them from my friends, but I haven't used it myself. I don't have it myself. So
They have good
yeah,
like metal to them, right? Like they're like I feel like you can really like slap them around and they still feel like they're still, gonna be okay. Which when when you're running around with a tripod, I feel like that's unfortunately just part of the territory, right?
yeah,
Um,
exactly. But yeah,
but
Manfrotto is sort of throughout my whole career. If Peak Design want to do anything or they want to work, I'd be more than happy to. But yeah,
yeah.
sticking with Manfrotto for the time being.
We're definitely not
But
we're definitely not canceling out any tripods or whatever. Finn is open to sponsorships and working with other people as well. Just kind of wondering
certainly
what he's
am.
currently working with. If you're interested in getting him to work with your product instead, make sure you reach out.
But
um,
back to the settings almost, because I think it is actually a very interesting technique, and a lot of people might not know how to do this. So yeah, you are right about the zooming out. So it's a 1 second exposure, and I would suggest you go over to my page to see the actual tutorial on a reel. It will be a few reels down by now. But yeah, 1 second exposure I found to be the cleanest results. And if you have it on a tripod, you click the shutter, and right at the end of the exposure, you actually zoom out on your lens. So you will need a zoom lens for this. This was shot on the 24 to 70 G Master. Um, so yeah, you will need a zoom lens, anything where you can sort of just rotate your zoom ring and you can achieve some similar results like this. And it creates a nice effect. So I think this is the actual real building. And then with the actual zoom, you are sort of dragging the light with you as you zoom. And this is sort of like a cloning effect. So throughout all these lines, you can see a cloning effect on each building, like these two in particular as well. So yeah, cool effect to try. It doesn't really need much editing this. Again, I like to make my photos blue, so that's sort of what I've done. I've pulled the temperature down, added vibrance and saturation. I don't really need to touch the tone curve. I can sort of just accentuate the light if I want. I'm not one to play about with fade. I don't like the look of fade. I like to keep things dark, moody. I can play
goes
around
with
with the
the
colors if I
goes with the night
really want to.
photography.
Yeah, exactly. I can play around with the colors if I want to, but again, I don't think it really needs it. It's quite a This image focuses a lot on the actual technique of the photography rather than the editing to accentuate everything. So
Yep.
yeah, I think this is probably a fine spot to leave it, and I'm excited to jump into this photo, which was taken over in Brazil. So we're away from the night photography for a few photos. We might get back into it if we have time, but this one is one I really wanted to dive into. So I'll
Dive
actually explain
into next to
about.
the ocean.
Well, there you go. Nice. I'll actually dive
Also, I do want to
into.
flag that we are a little over halfway through our stream. Time is flying
Yes.
by. We're having a great time. I do want to take a second to briefly just pull up this schedule. You guys can see that this is just the first show that we have of the day. You can see I'm pulling this off up on our Discord. So if you guys want to join the Discord, this is the Adobe Live Discord. Right up after this, we also have another photo for you, Jacob. And Jacob is actually hosting that one. So it's actually not for you because you are hosting it. But how to create powerful photo composites, which is another extension of photography, or maybe not even photography, just like compositing is its own thing too. We later then have making brand color decisions, and that's with Nick De Cueves. And then we have On the Spot with Maggie Lopez later today. Tomorrow, got some TikTok, got some EDU streams, and also a Project Aqua stream. So we'd love to see you guys over there. But then back to you, Finn.
Yeah, so I wanted to, this is one I was excited to edit. So this was taken in Brazil. Again, a couple of years ago, we can see 2023. So this is 3 years old now. But again, one of my favorite images I've ever taken. It wasn't really one that stood out to me at the time, but
Mm-hmm.
looking back and the original edit I did of this photo, I loved it so much. So I was excited to run it through in this stream. But if we look at the top left-hand side of the screen by pressing I, as we have been doing, this was taken at 400 millimeters. And I think a lot of people, when they see this photo online, they're often really confused about how this was actually taken because I'm really elevated in the photo. So a lot of people were saying it might be a drone, or was I sort of hanging out the side of a helicopter? Because
Yeah, I
I
was
guess they,
immediately thinking it was drone.
yeah, well, 400 millimeters taken on the Sony. So this was in Brazil in Rio de Janeiro. Um, I think the mountain was called Sugarloaf Mountain. So it's a really elevated point, and I think there's a lot of wildlife on it, which you can see. But I was drawn towards this frame, which was just the beach below. So I've punched all the way into 400 millimeters, and I've just waited for a subject to run through the frame.
Got it.
And I waited for the waves to come by. So it creates sort of this half and half effect. So we've got the ocean on the right hand side, the beach on the left, and then the subject right in the middle. And for cropping, I've cropped in quite a bit to make it a bit more minimal and also to remove these distractions that we had in the left hand side.
Mm-hmm. And it's
By
adding
pressing L on the keyboard, I've centrally aligned the subject on my central line. And then I pressed O again and I put him on this sort of rule of thirds grid at the bottom. I can even do it a bit more if I want to, but I think it looks a bit nicer if he's not centrally framed, sort of like this.
mm-hmm.
It might make sense for some people, but for me, I like to have it where the center of the image isn't really anything going on, but he's a bit lower down in the image. But yeah, already done some basic adjustments just to bring some contrast and a little bit of color into it. But
I love
we're
the
going to
green that
dive.
you brought out into the ocean, and also some of the contrast that you have of like the levels between them, because it's still very obviously an ocean, but it also is starting to feel kind of like granite or stone in the way that it has that really cool texture with the foam on top of the waves.
Yeah, so that was actually the first time I think I've used masks. Sorry, not masks. I used the brush tool in the mask tab in the stream. I focused a lot on radial masks and all of that, but when I press K, I can draw around this particular bit that I want, and it highlights all of it nicely. I do have the auto mask on because if I don't, it will just sort of brush where I'm brushing. But when I have the auto mask on, if I go over this corner, we can see it's sort of find a way to show this, but it sort of removed this white part of the image here, and it sort of it focuses on the part of the image that you want to actually brush, and it doesn't get any other distractions as part of the image. So I'm just going to delete this mask again to show you what I kind of mean. So if I press K and I don't have the auto mask checked, it will just highlight everything, including the white waves, which I don't want to do. I only want to focus on the blue part of the ocean. So when I press auto mask and I go over the same, not that, that's the original mask. When I press K, auto mask is on. I can only focus on this blue part of the image. And then I'm not highlighting the white waves because I don't want to affect those parts of the image. I want to make the right hand side more blue. So that's all I've done. Pretty simple, but in case you don't know how to do it, I would
Goes a
recommend
long
having
way.
auto for something like this.
Also loving the uh yeah, the ability to turn on and call out auto mask. We have a question from Sean. He says, "Wait, how are the mask panels in the main panel? Have you moved things around?"
I'll be honest, I don't really
Yeah.
know.
All
I,
right, so
I don't
that, I
really
mean that's the answer in
like
itself is like it's not like you went out and
I,
downloaded a
I
plugin or
haven't
anything
changed
is the
anything.
important thing. So
I have not changed anything. This is literally just Lightroom Classic as it comes. Mask are always up here in this circular logo. And if you click that, I guess if that's what he means, why it's in the main panel. But I don't know if it's different on Lightroom compared to Lightroom Classic. I literally haven't changed anything. This is as it comes for me.
yeah, he says for him masks are normally a pop out. So yeah, I guess he's has a doc there. Sean, I can also look into that and I can get back to you on the Discord if that's something you're interested in. Because if that's something that would help your workflow, I'd be happy to help you there. I'm also really enjoying the texture of the disrupted sand off to the left. I think it's cool how this, um, like, kind of, I mean, intentionally and unintentionally, has been divided into like one, two, three, four, like five value stripes, right? Of like different levels of sand, the foam, the water.
Mm.
Um, this picture has a lot going for it, and it's really cool.
Yeah, there is a lot going on in this photo. It's one reason why I love it so much. But so for now at this part of the image, the subject, I think I want to make it stand out a bit more. The photo's in quite a nice position already. If anything, I might just add another little vignette, which I can change myself, just to bring the corners in a bit more. And then I almost reverse the vignette by adding a bit more exposure into the middle, just to make things pop a bit more. Just gonna bring the light down a bit on the side. So to make my subject pop, we have another masking tool, which I haven't dabbled on yet, but I will now. So if we go over to the select object, we have two different modes we can choose from. We can either sort of press on it. Didn't work in this occasion, so what I'm going to do is use the other one. So if I go back to select object, I grab this little tool and I can draw a box around my subject and it should highlight the subject perfectly like that, which
Perfectly.
is exactly what I want. And what I'm going to do is sorry, he's topless in this, by the way. Didn't really pay
Oh, that's fine.
attention, but
You're totally
I'm
fine.
going to add the exposure to him just to make him pop a bit more. But if I'm being picky, his feet in this image are really
Is he
overexposed.
barefoot?
He's running along the beach, so I guess he doesn't have
Yeah.
many clothes on. But
Wow.
what I'm going to do is a little bit more advanced. You might know how to do this yourself, but if I grab a linear gradient like this, let me actually zoom in a bit more for this. So what I'm going to do, press M on the keyboard for the linear gradient. I'm also holding shift while I drag this mask because if I don't press shift, I can move this around and it's not straight. But if you hold shift, you can have a perfectly straight mask in your photo like this. So anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a linear gradient over the bottom half of this subject. And then I'm going to right click on the mask, intersect mask with, and then what I'm going to do is select the subject again. And I did the wrong tool. I do select object and the intersect, draw the box around him. And now I have a linear gradient, which is only affecting my subject. And if I want, I can completely change this to cover him completely, or I can cover him slightly. So it's a
So you
bit
essentially
of,
made like a clipping mask in a few
yeah.
steps, but it was
So
like
yeah, it's a
smart made one.
bit more advanced on Lightroom, but then I can adjust the exposure to the bottom half of the image. So if I want, I can completely change this. But if I bring this down a bit, it levels out that bottom part of the image where I said his feet were exposed. Now I've changed that through masking, linear gradient, intersecting with the subject, and then I can completely sort of balance out the image like this.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I know you said that you like the switch. Can we take a look at the before again real quick? Just because it's
Yes.
like
Right.
crazy to see. Wow. I mean, like it looks it looks like grayscale at that point, right? Like it's a kind of incredible.
Yeah, the raw
It's
looks
crazy to know that
really,
it's the
really
same
bland when
image.
you go back to them. So yeah, I did make a preset of this called somewhere down here, Golden Sand V2. I don't want to go over it now because it's going to completely change this image because
Hmm.
again, preset is for the base of the image. You apply it and then you change everything after it. So
Yeah.
this is just no preset applied. I've already brought back in all the color, especially with vibrancy and saturation. If I already push it a bit more, it looks completely horrible. So it's at a nice
Yeah.
position here. if I was being really picky, I'd add a few more masks sort of into the beach, and I'd also go over this
That's cool.
blue water, pick out particular points, and just add sort of pops of light. I think it just makes a really interesting effect. And then I can also go back over and take out some of the exposure and just shape the light. It might not be pure photography. Some people might not like this, but if I then go to the masking tab, I've got 17 masks on this photo. Someone needs to count how many masks I've got on all of these photos. I must be over 50 by now.
Next time we have you on, we're gonna have a little counter in the bottom corner, and every time you
Yeah,
make
how
a
many
new
masks I've got on.
mask, we're just gonna have it like a little clicker that goes up. Yeah,
We've done 4 photos and an unbelievable amount of masks. But if we toggle this,
it's
all the
pretty
color
remarkable.
through the blue on the right hand side of the image, the orange. To be honest, I don't actually really like the blue, but I'm going to leave it as it is for this image. It's a bit too blue in my opinion. But yeah, we can see we've turned the green water into more of a nice blue tropical water. The sand, we've brought back in all the color to a nice golden sand instead of sort of like this bland, bit
Yeah,
white, bit gray. We've brought back in all the color, and that's through masking. So I've only focused on the sand or I've only focused on the blue water, and then I can change everything through there. So that's why masking is such a key tool. I could do a whole tutorial on just masking.
yeah.
But yeah,
As I think you should, because it's things that you're very experienced with. I love the also that I think a lot of people when they focus on masks, they're focusing like a little bit too narrow minded. And I love how you add asymmetry, intentional asymmetry to your pieces, like being able to add random light pieces to kind of guide your way around, and even random shadows. And you're not doing it always symmetrically. You're doing a little bit here, a little bit there. So I think there's a lot to be learned from the way that you approach masks and light. Sean's really excited. You taught him something new. He says that you can actually drag the mask pop-out panel into the main panel. He says thank you in all capitals. So
there you
uh,
go.
that's some cool stuff there.
But yeah, I think that's kind of a good place to leave this photo. When I
Yeah.
edited this originally, I got rid of a few, these are all footprints in the sand. I might have gone over, so for example, this little corner, I'll do it now quickly, but this little corner, there's just, I don't know why, it's not even a distraction to most people. I'll tell you what, I won't use AI because I don't need to. Um, but if I just click over that, that's one little distracting thing.
Hmm.
If I go back to this in the raw, you can see this distraction. It's just, I don't even know if it's a rock or something, but it's there and it's annoying me. So I can get rid of it. And it might be a
Photographer will
tiny,
notice.
some people probably won't notice, but for me, I can see it and it really annoys me. And I can actually see it here as well. If I go back to the raw, this part of the image is really annoying me. So I get rid of that. I'd probably get rid of this one here. That's sort of not flowing in the image. It's not nice. But yeah, I'll leave this image as it is. I could dive into so many different things, but I really like the edit we've done live on this one. We've already brought back all the color. That doesn't even look like a proper raw image anymore. It looks so bland. There's no color. But that is the raw image, and we've brought back in all the color. So yeah, I think that's a good place to
Wow.
leave this image.
I think we got time for about one more photo probably because we got just a little bit over like 6 or 7 minutes left. But I'm seeing a great question from Nazman. He says, "How did you find your editing style, and do you think it's changed through your career?"
Um, I don't know if my edit, well, at the start of my career, I would say, sorry, while I do this, I will just dive into this so I can keep editing.
For
But
sure.
I think at the start of my career, all my edits are so bad. Like they look horrible. And I don't really know what I was doing. And I think that still happens in some photos where I'll edit the whole photo and then I'll look back and I think, what was I doing in this image? Like it looks horrible. So I think I've definitely gotten better at editing and I found my style where if it's night photography, I'd make everything look blue and very contrasty and very moody. But with daytime, well, I guess for something like this beach, I don't even know what you'd describe this as because this is completely different to this image that we edited at the start, where it's nice blue, moody. Then we go over to sort of orangey beach scene. So I take photos of everything. So I say my style changes, but sort of when I'm visiting new places or there's different photos going on. I've definitely got a style when it comes to night photography. So if it's not night photography, things can change a little bit. They can look a bit different. But yeah, night photography, I like to make everything look the same. So
Ed Clulo is saying the photo looks great. They're talking about the beach one that we just passed through, which I think is great. And then Sean says that the remove distractions tool is so good, but it keeps removing me, which is funny. I think that with remove distractions, you can also run into kind of, like the middle schooler that's looking in the mirror popping pimples, right? Like it's like you can go too far sometimes, and it's better to just leave stuff, but it's also
Yeah.
really nice to be able to have that capabilities to be able to mess with it when you can. And there's everything's always a balance, right? Um, got some really cool lines
Um,
going on here.
yeah, so I just actually wanted to wait to explain this a little bit because again, it's another masking feature which I wanted to dive into. So to explain what I'm doing a lineal grade, not linear, I'm doing a radial gradient over this image, and I'm going to vignette it. I'm going to invert it and vignette this image. But if you can see, it's affecting all the yellow lines around the image. So it's making the whole thing darker, but I really want to make the yellow lines in this image pop out. So to explain, we're actually in Hong Kong right now. This was a fairly recent trip I did at the end of last year. And we're looking sort of out of my hotel room. And it was this nice crossroads and it had these nice lines. So what I'm
Is
going to
this
do
your
is I'm going
400
to,
millimeter again?
no, I think this was on 70 to 200. Yeah, this is at 200 mil. I actually sold the 400 now and I got the 72 to 200 instead.
All Sony lenses,
Um,
right?
all Sony, yeah, yeah, I've got 14 mil G Master, 24 to 70 G Master Mark II, and the 70 to 200 G Master Mark II as well. Yeah, all Sony. The start of the image was like a Viltrox, but that was we'll ignore that. We'll ignore that. So yeah, so to explain this, if we have time, we have a vignette mask here, but I don't want it to affect the yellow line. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on the mask again, intersect with, and in the beach photo we did, we intersected it with the select object. But for now, I'm going to go down to the color range and I'm going to click sort of anywhere along these yellow lines. And what it does, oh, I've done this wrong. Sorry. So I'm going to right click. No, I'm not. I'm going to click on it and I'm going to subtract the color range. So exact same thing. I just went the wrong way. So I'm going to click on the yellow lines and now it's removed the yellow lines from the mask and it's only affecting the
Oh,
bottom layer of the image. So I can now really make the yellow lines pop. And it's a bit of an arty sort of feel. It's not sort of pure photography anymore because people will see it looks almost a little bit fake. But if we go to the tint, the temperature, we can see that sort of bottom half of the images is only being affected. And we can do the same if we create another mask and go through here. Sorry, we're going to subtract. I'm going to start by subtracting the car from the image, and then I'm going to also subtract the color range. So this is now like a three-step mask just to get the bottom half of the image. And we can see we can either make it really dark and make this like a really arty sort of feel. If I take this off, we can, it's quite an arty image, or we can bring it up the exposure. So I'm going to bring it up a little bit because I don't, this looks cool, but doesn't really look like a photo at that point. I'm going to bring it up a little bit and I'm also going to make it a bit more blue. Just that's my sort of style. I like to make things blue. Um, so we'll keep it like that for now. Now, this is quite a nice place to leave the image. I haven't really done any tone curves, so I'll just quickly jump into that. Create a bit of an S curve. It's quite a
okay.
nice basic way to put the curves. But
And that's for the entire image, or is that just for a selected area that you
this is for
have?
the entire image. Again, maybe in a different stream, I could create a radial mask, and it's something I do actually do quite a lot. If I'm only affecting this part of the image, I can then mask and do the tone curve. So then
Okay.
I'm doing a tone curve on a local adjustment rather than a global adjustment. So it's not something I'm going to dive into now. It's a bit more advanced. There's a bit more going on. Yeah, that's adjusting the whole image. And then this is a photo I actually took into Photoshop because there are so many distractions. Like all the yellow lines are broken up.
Yeah.
We can see like sort of this break in the lines. I would have got rid of that. I would have got rid of all these sort of drains in the ground and all these cubes. I would have got rid of that. We can do it in Lightroom. With this, but I found for often when there's a big workflow, I won't get into it now because we don't have time, but when there's a big workflow like this, I would go into Photoshop and do lots of different ways to edit this photo. But with this and just how many masks have we done on this? Only two masks,
Only
but we can
two. Are
see.
you okay? Is everything all right?
Well,
It's
I'm
not
conscious
double
of the time we
digits.
have. I'm conscious of the time we have. But already with two masks, if we look at the before here, it's nice. Well, it's not nice in my opinion, but it's a very yellow. sort of faded image. And with two masks, we've brought back in my blue style. We've got the slight vignette, which I can adjust if I want. I can make this brighter, I can make this darker, I can bring the shadows down, I can bring the blacks down if I want, just to make it really contrasty. But yeah, two masks completely changed the image. So yeah,
Very
I
cool.
would also then maybe do a radial mask, intersect this with select objects. I draw around the car, and then I can make the car pop from the image a bit more by adding some exposure, and then we can see.
Cool. Those
So that's
reflections really
how
came
we
out.
zoom in. Mask three. If we toggle this off, the car looks well. You can. It feels like it's just sort of blending the image, but adding exposure brings it out a bit more, makes it stand out from the image. So again, three masks only, not as mask crazy as I was going earlier on. But yeah, three masks, change the whole image, shapes the light completely. I've got light on the car, a vignette around the image, and the yellow lines are still very prominent in the image, which was what I was going for. So
Amazing.
yeah,
All right. Well, yeah, that puts us just about time. We rocked through 5 different photos in
we got
lightning
five.
speed.
We've got
The
this, which we would have
well,
gone through if we had time. We've got Chicago at night again. We didn't have time to go through those. We could save these for next time. Would have been a crazy image. If I did do it, I would have made this completely red.
ooh,
I would have. I don't know how long do we have, Ryan?
we don't have enough time. Well, unfortunately, we are
No, enough time.
moving on to the next. But
We will leave
for
that
anyone that
then.
is here live, make sure you guys are going to stick around because coming up right after this in just a few seconds, we're going to have Giannis Davy Gwabinga, and he's going to demonstrate how to create a powerful composite image from scratch using Adobe Photoshop. So we're hopping from Lightroom over into Photoshop, and he'll be walking through the process of selecting and blending multiple visual elements, refining color and light for realism. And then Jacob Paris is also going to be hosting that one. So, one more time though, I just want to go ahead. I'm going to bring up your Instagram, so make sure you guys can learn more from Finn. He is South Optic over on all the socials, and then also yes, he has some presets for sale on his site coming up. Another pack in the future apparently, which we will eagerly look forward to. And just want to say thank you so much for walking us through so much in so little time.
Really?
Uh,
Yeah, hopefully we have another chance. I can go through some more photos, dive a bit more into some other features, but I think we managed to get through quite a lot in the time we had. So yeah, really enjoyed it.
yeah,
Thank you for having me on, Ryan.
yeah, of course. Also, for everyone in the chat that was here with us, Sean, Naz, Charlotte, EDC, Dino, Jacob, Cody, everybody that was here. Thank you guys all for being here. If you guys are photographers, we'd love to see if you guys check out Finn's Zoom tutorial. And then if you guys end up taking any shots with that, if you share it along with us, we would love to see it. And make sure you also give him lots of likes and comments on his channels. But thank you again to Finn. Thank you again, everybody else. And make sure you guys stick around, and we'll be back in just a second. Bye.